What's going on, everybody? C4 here today, continuing with the 7-round mock draft series. We are now on the Carolina Panthers. So this is your first time stopping by. Thank you for tuning in to the best place to get your mock drafts and draft talk on YouTube. And we will be looking at free agency grades, the 7-round mock draft, and everything in between for the Carolina Panthers this offseason. To start off, I am a Philadelphia Eagles fan, and doing all 32 teams in the NFL is pretty tough, but I think I know enough about college football to be able to assess and address all of the needs for your Carolina Panthers fans. But if you're a Panthers fan, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below if you disagree with any of these picks, and feel free to enlighten me as to why you think someone you suggest would be a better fit. I'll be all for it to getting another opinion on things. So with the Carolina Panthers, they were 6-10 last year, 19th ranked offense, 21st ranked defense. Night and day from a team that was at the Super Bowl a year ago. Definitely the biggest underachiever this season. Personally, I didn't watch enough Carolina Panther games. If I'm going to be quite frank, the only Panther game I remember right now at the top of my head was when they got absolutely torched by the Atlanta Falcons and Julio Jones. I don't know what happened necessarily with the Panthers. Seems like they were relatively healthy. I guess really the offensive line struggled to find some consistency. That could be it. And their secondary was depleted after Josh Norman left. But I don't really know. So that'd be the first thing that I ask Panther fans. What in the frig happened to you guys last season? The MVP, I'm going to have to give it to Greg Olsen. G-Reg with his third leg. Always consistent, always a beast for the Panthers. 80 receptions, 1,000 yards, almost 1,100 yards, and 3 touchdowns to his name. Pretty much everyone else kind of sucked last year, to be completely honest for you. Looking at free agency, they re-signed Mario Addison on a 3-year, $22.5 million deal. 9.5 sacks last year. He is getting up there in age, but that's relatively, good for the market. So I'm going to give that a B+. They released Paul Soliai, $2.5 million, B+. Released Mike Tolbert, almost $2 million cap, B-. They tagged K1 Short, who's just under $14 million, but you have to keep him. He is a franchise player on the defensive line. So I'm going to give that an A. They did some others, they re-signed Fozzie Whitaker, they re-signed Charles Johnson. I'll give both those a C+. They signed Matt Khalil to pair him with his brother Ryan Khalil, 5-year, $55 million. I'm giving that a C because Matt Khalil was kind of on a horrendous Minnesota Vikings offensive line last year, and that is elite. That's near elite tackle money there for Matt Khalil. I don't know what they were thinking. They signed Mike Adams on a 2-year, $4.2 million. He can still perform. Seems like Mike Adams still has a way to find the football there, even though he's, he's 32, 33. He's still good if he stays healthy for an entire season to get you 3-4 picks. That's a C+. They signed Julius Peppers, 1 year, $3.5 million. C+. That brings me back. That gets me wet. That gets me off thinking about Julius Peppers once again back in a Carolina Panthers uniform. And they brought back Captain Munnerlyn on a 4-year, $21 million deal. That's a great addition to their secondary. He was really solid in the nickel for the Minnesota Vikings, so I'm giving that a B. So before we jump into the 7-round mock draft, let's quickly take a step back and look at the 2016 draft from the Carolina Panthers and see what we liked, what I didn't like. Obviously, they didn't have a whole lot of picks last year. Only 5 picks in total, but I think they did a decent job. I think a guy like Vernon Butler should continue to find and eat snaps away from the likes of a Star Lotulelei. James Bradbury was a phenomenal pick. He was one of the best rookie corners last year. Daryl Worley was the guy I had mocked to the Philadelphia Eagles in a couple of mock drafts. I think he did all right for you guys. Give me your opinion if you're a Panther fan on if Daryl Worley has upside there. Zach Sanchez out of Oklahoma wasn't terrible at Oklahoma. I thought he had a lot of upside, made a couple big plays in his last year with Oklahoma. Probably more so of a special teamer. And then they got tight end Bo Sandlin from Montana State in the 7th round. Not going to lie, I have no idea what he did. I don't even think he's on the roster anymore. I think I don't even know. Let's see. Click. He's on the Packers. So there you go. Overall, not a strong draft when you had the most picks, but they did hit where they need to hit, and I was getting an impact corner in James Bradbury. So overall, not a terrible draft from the Carolina Panthers. But now, jumping into my 7-round mock draft, let's see what we can do for the old Panthers to help them try to get back to the Super Bowl with this roster before the likes of Thomas Davis and, who else is up there in age? Julius Peppers decide to hang their cleats up. So I will say, now looking back at the 7th, this is probably one of the strongest mock drafts I have in this entire series, and I'm very, very happy with how it turned out. I think we addressed a lot of needs. If I was a Panther fan, like I said, I'm not. I'd be goddamn happy with what I mocked to them, but everything looks better on paper than, more often than not, it looks better on paper than what it actualizes into, but let's see what we did. So pick number 8. Leonard Fournette is off the board, but there's still another running back that a lot of teams have fallen in love with, and he is almost the consensus running back too. Not personally to me. I think he's more so 3-4. But I think a team like Carolina Panthers would certainly fall in love with him. He has a buddy from Florida State that's there in Kelvin Benjamin. So I end up taking Dalvin Cook, the running back from Florida State, 5'10", 210 pounds, 4'4", 940, 22 reps on the bench press. Had terrible cone drills, terrible agility. People were kind of questioning his lateral movement. Garrett Bolles almost had a better, I think it was a 3-cone drill, which is pretty embarrassing, to be honest. But once you put the pads on, Dalvin Cook is as dynamic of a running back than any player in college today. And I know they did an extension with Jonathan Stewart, which is actually a pretty terrible piece of business in my opinion. I haven't looked into it, so I guess I can't really blindly say it was terrible. But unless that cap hit went down by $4 million, that is terrible, and they certainly need to address the running back spot. I think a guy like Dalvin Cook is a game changer, and I think it's maybe the case of overanalyzing things when you're trying to say, he had a really bad cone drill and his agility is there. The only thing I personally think is it's bullshit when people talk about Joe Mixon's off-field issues. They don't really mention Dalvin Cook, but I think that because it wasn't caught on film, it's not that big of an issue. It seems like the Carolina Panthers owner is pretty PC, so this may make this pick a little bit more risque, and you could insert a guy like Christian McCaffrey here. But I certainly think that the Panthers here with the first-round pick probably will address and go with the highest running back available on their board. There's other spots they can go. They can look at replenishing the defensive line, recouping what they lost in Coney Ealy, or maybe even offensive line, or they can still continue to develop in the secondary. But I think for them, looking at what they need to get over the hump, it clearly wasn't working with Jonathan Stewart. He's so inconsistent to stay healthy. It's bullshit. So you need to get a dynamic running back, and I think that can be Dalvin Cook for the Carolina Panthers. Fits their scheme. A team that likes to run the ball, pound the ball between the tackles, which he can do, as well as incorporate, through the passing game. I mean, Jonathan Stewart was never going to catch a bunch of passes. That's what a guy like Fozzie Whitaker was done for. But I think Dalvin Cook can really utilize and stay on the field for all 3 downs, and that is what makes him valuable in the NFL. I think that would be a solid pick. Not the best pick, but a very solid pick in the beginning of what I think is a very, very good draft for the Carolina Panthers, in my honest opinion. So over the second round, pick number 40. I have them going Taco Charlton, the defensive end from the University of Michigan, 6'6", 277 pounds, ran a 4.9 40, put up 25 reps on the bench press. Not only his name's Taco, but he's the man. NFL comparison is Chandler Jones. I think just because of how my draft board went, there's just so much other more needs that need addressing. Taco Charlton could potentially slip in to the late end, back end, the ass side of the first round, but I think he will be there in the first half of the second round. And with the Carolina Panthers, where they lost Coney Ealy, right now at the defensive end spot, you have Julius Peppers, Mario Addison, Charles Johnson. So Julius Peppers, that's a band-aid, let's be honest. Charles Johnson, he's 30, he's pretty much done. So you have Mario Addison, who they re-sign. They got some decent money. But outside of that, what do you have? So I think you instantly could put a guy like Taco Charlton, sit him behind Charles Johnson, have him come in as a rotational edge rusher, and then next year, I realistically don't see Julius Peppers. There's potential, put it this way, for Charles Johnson and Julius Peppers not to be on the team in 2018. So there, you have Taco Charlton, a guy you grabbed in the second round, who, if the draft was, depending on how the draft board goes, he still is probably classified as a fringe first-round pick. To be able to get that in the second round and have him as your potential starter going into 2018, while learning from 2 of the best veteran defensive ends in the NFL, and Julius Peppers and Charles Johnson, very nice, good scenario for him to bring in. I'd be all over that pick. Recoup essentially what you lost in Coney Ealy here in the second round. Their second round pick 64. It's time to get a dynamic playmaker. And this guy here, no one really knows where he plays, but I do think he will find his life as a offensive weapon, more so wide receiver than running back. And, they did lose Ted Ginn. They lost that dynamic playmaker, if you will, at the wide receiver spot. So with the pick 64, I have them going after Curtis Samuel, the wide receiver out of Ohio State, 4'3", 140, 18 reps on the bench press, 5'11", 196 pounds. NFL actually gave him a pro comparison to Josh Huff, and he is much more of a playmaker than Josh Huff. Josh Huff literally could only do special teams. I guess you could kind of see the comparisons in their college tape from Josh Huff at Oregon and Curtis Samuel at Ohio State. But I think for the most part, you see Curtis Samuel, a guy it's a weapon. That's what he is right now. He can develop into a good wide receiver, but right now he would come in. I think looking at their wide receiver depth chart, Kelvin Benjamin and Funchess, 2 big-bodied possession wide receivers on the outside. You just throw a weapon like Curtis Samuel inside, can replicate instantly, not only in special teams, but pretty much what Ted Ginn can bring to an offense. Let's not act like Ted Ginn has a great set of hands on him as a phenomenal route runner. Ted Ginn's pretty much biggest asset to that offense was speed. And Curtis Samuel is speed with an unbelievably high ceiling. I'm personally not on the big Curtis Samuel bandwagon. I think a lot of things need to happen, but I think going to a team like Carolina would be a perfect fit for a project-type player like Curtis Samuel. I think he could be debated out of this entire draft class, the project player with the most upside, more so than a guy like Jabril Peppers. So this would be an excellent pick, in my honest opinion, for the Carolina Panthers. Of course, it would be an excellent pick. That's why I made it happen. So then the third round, pick 98, I've been going after Howard Wilson, the corner from Houston, 6'1", 185 pounds, 4'5", 40, had great three-cone drill, great 20-yard shuttle, showing off phenomenal agility. Pro comparison is Jeremy Lane, the corner. I think he's on the Seattle Seahawks right now, but again, you need to continue to add bodies to that secondary until you can find something that sticks. Which is not always the best thing, but Howard Wilson, not as good as William Jackson last year out of Houston, but I still think he's a solid playmaker and can compete with Lewis Young and Daryl Worley for some depth spots. I don't really know if they plan on using Captain Marlin as an outside. I'm pretty sure he'll be a nickel. So that means right now your starting corners are James Bradbury, Daryl Worley, and Captain Marlin. I think a guy like Howard Wilson could certainly throw his name into the mix and eat some starting snaps and compete for more than just a roster spot here, which essentially you need guys like in the third round that can compete ideally for a starting position. I think Howard Wilson can certainly do that as my mock draft go. He's a very solid third round cornerback prospect, and it would be a nice pick there for Ron Rivera's defense. Jump to the fourth round pick, 115. I have them going with a project offensive lineman. Two projects, Curtis Samuel. And the second one is maybe the biggest project player overall in this league, Julian Davenport, the offensive tackle from Bucknell, 6'7", 36.5-inch arm length. This guy is like the longest player in the draft, 320 pounds. Not going to be able to play right away. He'll be able to. The only thing is that I do think the Carolina Panthers might want to look at upgrading the right tackle. They currently have, it'll probably be Michael Orr there. But that being said, Julian Davenport, certainly a lot of people, he looked rough. He looked rough at the Senior Bowl, but he has plenty of upside. He's just the kind of guy you can mold. And I think because that's the other things. A lot of people are saying he's in the discussion between 4th and 5th round. Not so much 7th round undrafted, throw on the practice squad and develop, because his ceiling is that high. He could be potentially a franchise tackle if he gets in with a good offensive line coach and isn't thrown to the wolves right away. So I think you can throw him behind a Michael Orr or a Matt Khalil, left or right tackle. I think he will, if he can put it all together, he will be a left tackle eventually, but he probably will have to start on the right-hand side, and just don't rush him in, and you might potentially have a franchise left tackle on your hands if the Matt Khalil experience doesn't work out, or worst case scenario, you have a solid start at the right tackle next season to protect and keep Cam Newton from late hits the Carolina Panther fans always bitch about. So jumping into the 5th round, pick 152, I have them getting another wide receiver. This is something they don't currently have, I don't think, on their offense personally. It's going to be Ryan Switzer, the wide receiver from UNC, 5'8", 181 pounds, 4'5", 140, 11 reps on the bench press, 4-second 20-yard shuttle. Incredibly athletic. This guy is a slot receiver through and through. I mean, a lot of people want to compare him to Wes Welker, Julian Edelman. So be it. Grindy, gym rat type player. But I don't really see a phenomenal slot wide receiver right now. I think a guy like Curtis Samuel can work inside and outside. But outside of that, Funchess and Benjamin, they could play. I don't know. I don't think they're quick enough to play slot. They're more outside possession wide receivers. So you have Charles Johnson, Russell Shepard. I think if you get a guy like Ryan Switzer, another weapon to help Cam Newton, that's exactly what you need. Because right now, the best probably player playing in the slot, playing in the middle of the field, is Greg Olsen, is your tight end. He's one of the best in the business, but give someone else that can come in and play and continue to build on that offense, because that's what you got to do. The offense took a massive step back last year. Hopefully, they did enough this offseason to keep that offensive line healthy. But I think to add another playmaker in Ryan Switzer, best player available here in the 5th round, to give Carolina, 5th round, he could definitely end up being the starter there as a slot wide receiver day one as a 5th round pick. So that's tremendous value there for the Carolina Panthers. Moving on to the 6th round pick, 192, I have them going after Jeremy Sprinkle, the tight end from Arkansas, 6'5", 255 pounds, 4'6", 40. Pro comparison right now is Larry Donnell, who's, not too shabby, but I just think it's time to look at maybe competing and giving some competition to Ed Dickson for the backup role there to Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen's no spring chicken anymore, so I think investing here on a guy like Jeremy Sprinkle, where the tight end class wasn't so, depth, the biggest, really, a lot of people are saying it's one of the best draft classes for the tight end position in quite some time. I think if this is a weaker draft class at the tight end spot, Sprinkle would be a 3rd, probably 4th round pick, somewhere like that. So being able to give him the 6th round because of the strength there would be excellent. Just start thinking long-term gain at the tight end spot and preparing for life without Greg Olsen when it inevitably has. So I think Sprinkle right there. Add some competition to Ed Dickson and have another tight end. So then finishing with the 7th round, pick 233, I have them going with defensive end Josh Caraway, 6'3", 242 pounds, out of TCU, 4'7", 440, 25 reps on the bench press, had a really impressive 60-yard shuttle. Currently comp is Shaq Riddick, who spent some time. Where did Riddick? I think he was out of Georgia Tech. But I think a guy like Josh Caraway continued to add on the defensive end spot. A guy that's just, the best player available in the 7th round. I would have liked, looking back at this draft, maybe to get another offensive lineman, but that's just how my board played. There wasn't really anyone for Carolina that fell to them. I really was looking in the 2nd round to go with an Antonio Garcia at the tackle spot. He was off the board, so we had to go Taco Charlton. So really in the 7th round, you just kind of was going with the best player available. And a guy like Josh Caraway in the 7th round presents tremendous value as he can contribute on special teams and be more so, I think, an outside linebacker than a defensive end. Even though he's classified as a defensive end, I think you still add someone in the mix that can compete for snaps behind Shaq Thompson and the aging Thomas Davis. So I think more so, even though he's a defensive end, he'd be an outside linebacker for the Carolina Panthers at 240 pounds. And, you got to start building there because Jeremy Cash is not going to be your top depth if you really want to have a very solid, consistent team. But there you go, guys. That is my 7th-round mock draft for the Carolina Panthers. Let me know what you guys think, Panther fans. If this is your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment in the comment section below. 150 likes, and tomorrow we will release the Cincinnati Bengals 7th-round mock draft. Until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.